Back same time next week. Now to the SANFL, and this week the action comes from Woodville Oval, where the Eagles, sitting on top of the competition ladder, take on an improving Norwood. The Eagles are coming off a big win over Port Adelaide last week, while the Redlegs are looking for their 5th win in a row. So let's cross over to Woodville now, and good afternoon to Mark Aston.
Thank you very much, Karen. Very cold conditions here. Norwood trail by 3 points. It's an enthralling battle. Stephen Trigg and David Mackay join us. Fellas, a very good game of football so far, and Norwood have done very well to keep in touch.
They have, but they've just not quite had the measure of the Eagles at the moment. They've battled hard, but they just haven't had their noses in front for long enough, David.
I think the thing about the Eagles, Stephen, is that they're particularly good at the player with the ball, and they harass you so much that you have little time to do anything with the ball. And I think Norwood really need that space to get their running game going.
Let's have a look at the premiership table as it stands. Round 15, Eagles on top, Central, and Norwood in 3rd position. But the interesting factor here is that Sturt is the only side that can't make the 5.
And from Norwood's point of view, David, 3rd spot is fine. But as we said through the call...
Lost today and they could be 6th.
A loss today and they could be 6th or 7th. So it's a precarious perch for them, and it's a very tight situation through that table. And Sturt, as Mark says, perhaps the only side that can't make it. Let's have a look at the scoreboard here, quarter by quarter. It was dead even at quarter time. And thereafter, we thought that perhaps, David, Norwood were going to struggle because they were kicking into the breeze, but they held firm.
Yes, they did a good job, and even with the breeze in the 3rd term, they were able to add 2 goals, 5. Now, that could be the problem. Had it been 5 goals, 2, they would have been in better shape. The Eagles kicked 5 points into the breeze and will come home with the use of this breeze. With the goal scorers, Taylor with 2. That's unusually quiet for him. Stephen Ziller, 2 goals. Nickel 1, Morfitt 1, and Filippo 1. Morfitt particularly was great last week against Port Adelaide, wasn't he?
And Jonathan Ross kicked a quite sensational goal in that 2nd term. It's one of many in a great package of highlights. Not so good, Kim gave it away. There's another chance, though, with Jonathan Ross. Had an option, well done, Camporelli. Magnificent play. Gets it back for his efforts, well done. Sidesteps and gets the handball away. The Eagles will love that. This is Kennedy. Pushes it up towards Filippo. Great tussle so far with Miller. Wheels around, still no pressure forthcoming. Chips in short and finds a player there in James. Gives it off to Stephen Ziller. Has a look at the goals. Too easy, just not enough pressure. And a goal. That's the result, and the goal umpire gets one for his good measure. A goal. Well, series of handballs, well claimed. Now here's Burns. Has a look at them. He's working a long way down the ground, isn't he? Following an opponent down Fleming. See if he can jump a little bit higher.
Here we go. So Ross's kick, he's trying the reverse screwy. Oh, he's kicked a terrific goal. Chance for Camporelli. Got caught though, just very well tackled. Here's Devine, so the Eagles going into attack again. Long bomb, Taylor up in front, couldn't control it. Here is Morfitt. He won't miss this one, and he doesn't.
Spears under pressure. There's a bevy of Norwood players there. Well done, Pitt. Dragged it back into that danger zone. D'Antokia, they've got some numbers there. Can they get one spare? Here's Hart around the body. Do you mind? What a goal! And here's Primus and Nickel locking arms and going into battle once again. Primus gets it away. Irvin cleverly on the 2nd tap. Patterson around the body. Every good chance, and Stephen gets his 1st.
Here's some terrific highlights, and Primus, fellas, has done very well. Geez, tall, isn't he? And very athletic.
Very strong.
Great, and I like his work on the ground. It's not often that you see a man that can play so tall and then gets down and does some tackling work as well. What about the Ross goal, the check side? Not
terrific,
bad.
Wasn't it? Yes.
Magnificent piece of work. He's been a very good player. Football show tonight, David, should be a beauty.
Well, we're looking at a Crows-Richmond preview for tomorrow's game of 3:45, and we'll discuss the 2nd licence issue with the AFL, and hasn't that turned around? The SANFL seem to have done a complete backflip, and they've thrown the Crows into a tailspin. Guests tonight, Tim Ginniver, Tim Perkins from the Port and North game. Andrew Underwood will be in, fellas. And we'll also be discussing the West Adelaide and Glenelg game from Richmond Oval.
Yes, not sure about how the Crows feel about going out to Norwood. Don't think they like the idea. Anyway, Crows local football videos, if you're interested, any of the games that we broadcast, you can purchase that if you ring that number.
And of course, during that 3rd term, we had a problem with Richard Kelly, the Norwood defender who went down with what looked to be a very serious injury. Here he is on the far side of the ground. I thought at first it was Primus. Just watch carefully, just one of those awkward ones. Oh dear, the leg buckling underneath. And if I can liken that to anything, I remember George Fiarchi last year doing exactly the same thing, David.
Same.
Last 30 minutes, it should be a beauty here at the Woodville Oval. Pretty good conditions, no rain, a little wind. 3 points the margin, the Eagles lead. Michael Abbott about to get things underway and to take up the call. Here's Stephen Trigg.
Start of the last term, just 3 points in it. 55 plays 52. And there's action with you throughout the state on ABC Sport. It's been a magnificent game, an enthralling game. Can Norwood get there? They need this game so desperately to not only keep third spot, but perhaps to keep a play on fifth. Here's McIntosh, far side. He's been at half-back all day. Courageous piece of work. Keeps it in front of him. So too does Hart. Works back. Taylor seems to have come out of the goal mouth for a run, working towards the ball and taking a good mark. I called him earlier Fred Bassett. His name's Nathan.
Taylor has come out to centre half forward. Filippo has gone to full forward for the Eagles. Filippo just appeared to be running out of a bit of puff.
And every time I've seen the Eagles do that, it's worked. Against Glenelg 3 weeks ago, they murdered them when Filippo went to full forward and kicked 7. This is Pays, has a look from perhaps 70 metres out, holds up in the breeze. Filippo gets underneath it. Well done by Bassett. Probably could have got a free kick in the end, and Kim Russell will clear.
Yes, he clears away from that dangerous back half. Long kick to the far side. That's the eastern side of the ground. Primus had the footy knocked away from him. Chance for Dan Tocky. A good kick up to right half forward. Big mark taken by Freeborn. One that had to be taken because Norwood was storming forward. He gives it across to one of the best players in the local competition, Andrew Rogers. Rogers kicks to midfield now in front of the grandstand, which is packed. Couldn't get a handle on it, Morford. As a result, Bassett comes in, tries to do something constructive. He needed support. Cowan was there, but he didn't see him. Morford in the end gives it to Pays. Pays, little cheeky chip pass is very good. Now James kicks up to right half forward. Down there is number 23, Shackey, onto the ground, and Shackey's missed. Well, he almost missed everything. And David, what's the story with Shackey?
Shackey has spent the last 6 or 7 weeks in the reserves and has picked up some form. Of course, the Eagles are looking for him to get back into the form that he was in early last year, where he dominated.
He's better than a reserves player, isn't he, at his best?
Well, they played him in the reserves about this time last year. He came back right before the finals against Central out of Elizabeth and kicked 6 or 7 that day. It was a welcome return to form, and he carried that form into the finals.
19-year-old Scott Burns at half-back. Looks for Irvin. Does it pretty well. Couldn't quite control it long enough. Want to drag it in underneath the body because there's a plethora of Eagles players.
Here's an update. North Adelaide lead Port Adelaide by 29 points, three-quarter time, David.
Port Adelaide just sitting inside the 5-2.
Glenelg and West Adelaide, and Glenelg have got the advantage there.
Yes, and doing it pretty well. Their runners Central lead Sturt by 42 points. That's no surprise, and Central consolidating as a top 2 side.
Back here at Woodville Oval, last year's grand finalists are locking horns, and it's just 4 points the difference. 7-14 to 7-10, a low-scoring game. Good conditions, just a little bit of breeze, worth perhaps 3 or 4 goals a little earlier in the day, but it's dropped away to maybe 2 or 3. Patterson gets up from the bottom of the pack. We're 3 minutes into this last term, and you suspect that if Norwood are going to win this game, it's people like Patterson, McIntosh, Davey and Burns who are going to get them going.
I remember a game last year out at the parade when the Redlegs were well ahead and the Eagles were able to just command and go forward. The Redlegs should have played the boundary line and didn't, and I feel today if they kick a couple of goals early, they'll learn the lesson. Look at the tightness of it. Close quarter football, no run, and very good tackling.
Need to run it, won't they? Into this breeze, they need to run it and share it up and get a score on the board, because they're not in the position, obviously, to try and save the game. Close position in there, and locking of arms by Neiman and Primus.
Under-17s championship being played in Perth. Victoria Metro defeated South Australia 64 points. That's a very big win.
Commonwealth Cup, formerly the Teal Cup, and of course it was Victoria Metro that caused us all the trouble last year.
Well done by Pitt. Good smother by Morford as well. If that gets through to Taylor, which it does, it's clever work by James. Didn't quite find the body and give Scott Burns a chance to work back. Reliable as always. Thwarts another one of those Eagles attacks. Great mark, Neiman.
Underrated, this fella. Second in the best and fairest last year in a premiership year to Andrew Rogers. He beat plenty of his teammates for that second position. There's a fine mark too.
Taylor, half forward, wastes no time, plays on. Has a look at Filippo. Barn works his way back in. D'Antocchi is there giving support. Kim Russell gets a free kick, does he? Yes.
A lot of people queried Norwood picking him up from Sturt. They thought he was gone as a footballer. Neil Craig really has revived his career, hasn't he?
Primus in the back pocket, expecting big things of him as the year unfolds. Here's Kimmy Russell again, little short chip pass. Oh, in all sorts of trouble there was Cowan. Comes to the side of the pack. James gets it away. Zilla, now Neiman. Oh, hospital hand pass there. Puts Stephen under enormous duress. Very well done by Bassett. The tackling's been very good in this game. Jason Ziller once again wraps up a player. It trickles out of bounds right half forward. Gee, there's nothing in this, and Norwood really hanging in. Well, Norwood sitting in third. Only 5 weeks ago, they were on the bottom of the ladder. Neil Craig called them easy beats, and it stung them into action. They've won their last 4.
Pays. Head over the ball. Little flick pass off towards James, left leg. Who's he looking for? Shackey. Norwood are under some pressure down there. They've got the red light flashing on full alert and a free kick.
The thing about the Eagle forwards, Mark, is that they attack you like defenders. If the ball comes into their area, they don't let it out easily. They just hold it in and they turn into defenders. There's Kieran Ryan's kick. Burns, geez, a good player, isn't he? Far side of the ground. Andrew Pays trying to wrap him up. Well done by Burns. And he'll take the kick. That's on the eastern half-back flank. 19-year-old gets pretty good distance with that. Big man up into the air was Ross, couldn't control the mark. Fleming was there trying to pick up. This is McIntosh out very wide. Chance now for Cowan. That was Dan Tocky who gave it to him in the first place and now gets it back. So good 1-2 work there and a very good kick. And Dolan's taken the mark. Well, he's directly in front, too far out to score. Not sure what he's going to do. Eventually goes to the left forward pocket and the mark taken by Pitt. No mark taken. Umpire says play on, so it just didn't come off there. He was a little undecided, Dolan, but perhaps, David, the idea was a good one. Well, the first lead was the right one. Pitt took off, he was in position. Dolan went the wrong way. By the time he came back, Pitt was covered.
Just looks a little laconic at times, does Stephen Pitt. It's his nature. It's not as though he's taking it too easily at all. Kennedy gets it to Rogers. Smooth as Ty Silky, is beautifully balanced. Well done by McIntosh, cleanses it up, but not so well done on the kick. Out of bounds on the full, and Macca won't have enjoyed that one little bit. McIntosh, a half-back flanker today, fellas. Well, he's had trouble at times when it's been one out because the Ziller brothers have had superior leg speed, but when he's had a chance to read it, he's done well, and he's given them a few opportunities. That's a well-weighted kick straight to the line. That's a bit better, Macca. Well, he's the most celebrated sentiment in the competition. Is he destined to end his days in a back pocket? He's already on a half-back flank. Where will he finish? I wonder how many more years he's got in him, David. I wonder if this is the last year. The way he plays, he's probably got about another 20. He'll play till he's 50. He'll have a very sore body, though, won't he? Holding the ball at half forward. There another chance, Norwood. They just need a score. See how they're just forcing the ball forward? They're holding the ball in the area. McIntosh has just pushed it forward 20 yards each time. Scrapping and working hard, but the objective is to get themselves a goal. Well snared by Fleming. Irvin looks to fend off, but he's claimed and is holding the ball. Now look at that. He went to fend off Rogers. Rogers just grabbed the hand. He said, fine, you can fend me off. I'll just grab the hand and drag you down. And that's a sign of a player who's in complete control out there. Look, just grabbed the hand, pulled him down. He knew he couldn't go anywhere. Well, Rogers was very good. Dan Tokia gets another go. This time he goes toward McIntosh, who's about 75 metres out on the left half forward flank. Gets around Taylor with ease. Long kick, giving his forwards every chance. At the back is Prime. Now what's happened here over the shoulder? And Spear to get the relieving free kick. Prime can't believe it. I love to see Big Prime aggressive, tough at the ball. In fact, I'd like to see him a little bit more aggressive. He could really intimidate players if he just knocked a few over, even if he gave away a couple of free kicks early and unsettled a few defenders. I think that is going to be his benefit. We saw him kick 4 in the last quarter in their round 7 clash at Mount Pleasant. And on that occasion, he was certainly fired up. Miller is caught. Here's Ziller. Swoops in it. Hart couldn't do much with it. Around the body goes Pesh into some space. Well done by Ryan. Kim Russell works back as hard and as frantically as he possibly can. Runs it towards the line intelligently. And it goes over. Last year's grand finalists really having a ding-dong battle today. There was a lot said about the superior Eagles' physical strength last year, but Norwood seem to have matched them in that department. They just don't quite have the depth of resources at the moment that the Eagles do. Here's another one of them. Pesh, short pass, and has James. Matthew James, specialist half forward. He loves to kick a goal. He's only played 30 games over about 6 seasons, but he's been racked by injury. And he's a very clever player, exciting. My fondest recollection of him is watching Greg Phillips chase him through the centre of the ground here only a couple of years ago. He just ran away from big Greg Phillips, but it looked terrific. So James has a look from 40 metres out. The umpire makes some ground and puts just one finger up, so it's up to 5 points the difference. 7:15 to 7:10. We're 10 minutes in, and it's the time of truth for the Redlegs. They need a score.
Enthralling battle, isn't it? Kieran Ryan goes to Baum, a youngster, or relative youngster, to one of the oldest players in the competition, Craig Baum, but he's given a good service, hasn't he? Here's Taylor needing support, gets it to Jason Ziller, back it goes to Taylor, clever hand pass. So they're working it around pretty well. That was Adam Ugrinnick. Now Pays in trouble, has had a fair game. Burns attacking the football, then lost sight of it. Chance for Dan Tokia, tried to get it through the traffic too high. David Burns gets the free kick.
He worked for it, didn't he? He just worked for it.
Scotty Burns. David Burns, a late exclusion into this game. Big mark over the top. That one taken by Nathan Irvin.
Cramp. He's gone down with cramp. Now, that'll give you an indication of how much running he's done today. Has covered plenty of ground, and we're 10 minutes or so into the final term, and he's coming down with cramp.
Can he build something from halfback? Chip short and finds Simon Cowan, the wingman, 25-year-old. Doesn't look 25. There's a reasonable kick and a fine mark taken by Neiman. And David, you're saying that he is very underrated.
Well, a lot of people haven't believed he's as good as he is. The Eagles rate him very highly. Second last year in the best and fairest behind Andrew Rogers. He beat guys like Jamie Tape and Brewer, who have gone to Melbourne and made terrific names for themselves. And when you look at what he's capable of, he's very quick, good hands, and he's now very strong.
Morfitt, short pass. Not quite the direction that he would have liked. Filippo keeps it in play and dives across the top in leapfrog style. Plays on. Pays. Round the body. Another chance now as Taylor emerges very late in the scene. I thought the mark was taken in the end by Baum. Shackie's the first to recover. In there working hard is Stephen Ziller, who's got a wonderful goal sense. So too this man, Nick Pesh, around the body. Carrying, and has gone over for a behind. So 6 points the difference, 7-16 to 7-10.
Don't forget the Eagles by 5 points tonight. The Footy Show, 5:30. Rocky Roberts and the boys will discuss the second licence in the AFL and a preview of the Crows and Richmond game tomorrow at Football Park.
Good mark by Neiman. Just a score check. It's 58 to 52. So I think that margin may well be 6 points, and Neiman now with a big chance to make it 12. His kicking has improved markedly over the last 3 or 4 years. Here he comes. He's a lump of a man. That's a very good kick by David Neiman. Oh, that could be a match winner. His first, and I can remember David Mackay about 4 years ago, David Neiman not able to kick 30 metres.
Well, he might have had an injury at that stage, because I remember from the moment he came into league football as a 16-year-old, he kicked 5 goals on debut at the old West Torrens ground, but he was a fat, blubbery kid. He's really worked hard on his fitness, and look how solid he is. And you look at, say, the Crows, here's a guy who can ruck, play full forward, centre-half forward. He's a very versatile player, and they've just overlooked him continuously.
And, of course, the Eagles have lost their main air traffic controller in Romano Negri. They also lost Totham. Matthew Kluzek's gone up, so it's not been a bad effort from them as Morfitt gets it. Exit from centre square from the Eagles. Dan Tokia gets there first and dribbles it towards the line and finds it.
The margin now out to 12 points in favour of the Eagles. And you've got to say at this stage of the game, either side can win, but the Eagles with the breeze at their back would be favourites.
Throw in taking place on centre wing, western side of the ground. Patterson's kick is smothered. Burns gets it away. Bassett under pressure. Well done by Patterson again, but he's tackled brilliantly there by Ziller. Oh, chance there for Adam Ugrinnick. He was tackled, brought to the ground, once again out of bounds.
Patterson, isn't that good to see? Just a little bit of aggression. Few people thought that maybe that was an area of his game. He was just a bit soft, but this year he's really worked on that. He's hardening up. He's nice and tough.
Morfitt works in over the ball, emerges with it where he shouldn't have. Here's where McIntosh just struggles a little bit. Tight situations is fine, but I think he may have been holding on there. Here's Pays, has a look at them. 45 metres out and he's drilled it.
And that's a team lifter. That is a team lifter. That's the one the side wanted. He did this for South Australia, didn't he, fellas? The first goal of the game against Western Australia, kicked and the last. There were sparks flying there between Stephen Ziller and Gary McIntosh. Flintstones. Look a little like Barney Rubble, but look at the goal. Put it up to the face of goal, used the breeze, and the breeze brought it back beautifully. And the face of Craig Baum said it all.
So the complexion of this game changes within about 5 minutes. All of a sudden the margin is out to 18 points, and the home side staring a win in the face at this stage. Ugrenic round the bend, round the corner. Camporelli, so two youngsters there combining. Hart, another youngster coming at him. Camporelli is a very good player. Kicks toward left half forward. I think that might be James who attempted the big mark out there. Kicked off the ground. Now Filippo. Ryan coming at him, still with Filippo. And it's still in play. Patterson trying to do something positive with the footy. Here's Filippo, sweeps the hand pass to Taylor. He needs a good bounce, he gets one. Well done by Burns. Gee, it's uncompromising footy, isn't it? And eventually Burns just knocks it out of bounds.
North Adelaide lead Port by 11 points, so Port with the breeze in the final quarter can still come home, and Glenelg leading West by 13 points. So the breeze obviously a factor in both those games.
Out of Elizabeth, 42 points the difference. The Bulldogs have got the advantage at home.
Well, just an indication of how close the competition is. Two games away from here that were 4 or 5 goals at three-quarter time, now back within 2 kicks.
Well, we've seen all of the teams beat each other in some respect, David. By that I mean Sturt, West and North Adelaide have been giant killers at various stages of the season, haven't they? Well, they just haven't gone on with it. So the Eagles with this very handy break. 18 points this margin. There's a good kick, and Shaki on the end of it. Terrific work.
The balance of Scott Camporelli. We saw him a minute or two ago on the wing, this way, that way, this way. A lot of players would have lost their footing. He didn't. There's another occasion where he keeps his footing, looks up and drills the ball. His skills are terrific and his balance is great. And Lawrence Shaki, all he had to do was run at the ball and it hit him lace out.
You could almost call Camporelli the match winner for the Foundation Cup, couldn't you, with that terrific goal he kicked. Here's Shaki, and Shaki has, I think he might have missed that, he has to the right-hand side. That margin now out to 19 points, 9-17 to 7 goals 10.
Shaki, 86 league games, has kicked 200 goals, so he's been pretty consistent. It's been a lean year this year, however.
Full back is Kieran Ryan. A little awkward on the kick, but connects okay. Way up over the top went Hart. Nothing doing, and it just looks like the sting's gone out of the Norwood legs at the moment. At the first orange time break, it was all square, 3-3 apiece. Then 15 points to the Eagles at half-time. Just 3 in it at three-quarter time. And, of course, now they've got it out to 19 points the difference. Zilla on the up to James, to Pays, and just when they need to put the foot on the accelerator, they do it. Pays gets his second in this last term, and the Eagles take control at Woodville Oval. I think that's 17 to 7-10.
Sorry, Stephen. I think that explains why Andrew Pays was given the captaincy of South Australia when they played Western Australia. He's not his club captain. Andrew Rogers was favoured, but in a crisis, you'd want this man right by your side. 2 goals in 2 minutes. The game's almost over, and it's Andrew Pays who single-handedly puts the icing on the cake for the Eagles.
Yes, haven't kicked a goal, have they, Nord, in this term? Back in the centre, 10-17, 7-10, 18 minutes gone. Big margin now, isn't it? 25 points. So the Eagles looking presumably home. Still time, but as mentioned, the sting out of the Norwood side.
Well, they did this at Mount Pleasant, the Redlegs. They were right with the Eagles at half-time, and Neil Craig was shattered after that match. He couldn't believe that his side could go with the Premiers for 2 quarters and not just stay with them. That's what he was angry about, and he'll be angry today too.
Tap down to Bassett. Throws the ball away a little fortuitously, and perhaps that's being a little unkind to him because he got it to Dole, and McIntosh gets on the end of it. The last little bit of sunshine across Woodville Oval as McIntosh gets it up towards Prime, who set himself well, couldn't take the mark. Irvin off balance, gets it away. Freeborn hasn't been anything flashy at all, but it has all been very, very solid. Here's Pays. You think he hasn't lifted a notch. He's put it into overdrive in this last term. He's found 5th gear and he's played beautifully. Half forward he goes, looking for Zilla. Philippi took it off hands and did well. Bangs up towards the full forward line. Shaki's there. Lucky it didn't, from Norwood's point of view, travel all the way because it had just traversed the heads and in the end was rushed through. 10-18 to 7-10.
That would have hurt.
Nathan Bassett injured, ankle injury. So hopefully you can just run that off. Second oldest player, I think, Craig Barman, isn't he, along with Ross Gibbs, the 2 elder statesmen of the competition.
There's Barnes' kick and Ross. So another tall timber out there. At centre half back, the 20-year-old. Just a little wider on that far side. Goes even wider. Up goes Irvin, couldn't control it. This is Pesh. Doesn't look unlike Pays, does he? A series of hand passes. Devine. Short passes good. Camporelli, as David said earlier, who he's generally very good with his boot. That's no exception. Knocked to the side of the pack. Kieran Ryan. And just messing about with it here, Norwood. And the Eagles really want to wrap this up as if they haven't done it so far, but you get the feeling, want to kick 3 or 4 very quick goals and make a certainty of it.
There's my point, though. The ball's in the Eagles' forward line. We're 20 minutes in. They could be forgiven when they're 20-odd points up to just go through the motions, but no. Shaki applies a tackle, makes a yard, and Zilla makes sure that the ball stays in the forward pocket.
Miller lays it down. James gets a look at it, has a look at the goals. It's going to go very close, right to the line, and Shaki takes a good mark next to the post.
Now, Lauren Shaki, a goal scorer of renown, but this year has been very lean. 87 games, he's kicked 200 goals exactly, 2 points today. He missed 2 sitters, frankly. And this one's a difficult goal, but he'll run around and bang it right through the middle.
Shaki did exactly that. Around onto the right leg, thumps it through. Gets his first, and it's 11-18 to 7-10.
Now the Eagles will look to Lauren Shaki. Look at the good work of Andrew Taylor. He's not a ruckman, a natural knock ruckman, but he does the work in the forward line. It allows their ruckman to sit back across half back or half forward and keep the ball in the area. Now there were 2 players there, Filippo and Shaki. Shaki just read it beautifully as the breeze drifted it back. He's very good with his hands. The only criticism perhaps is his physical strength when he's bodying somebody like Craig Baum. I for one think he's just not physically strong enough to rip players apart.
11-18, 7-10. 32 points. So they've really dominated over the last 10 minutes, the Eagles. Dan Tokia trying to lift his side. McIntosh likewise. Scrambles a kick 20 metres forward. A lot of players trying to pick up. There's Prime in the middle of that pack. Down in the centre area. Dolan, who came on late in the game. Zilla. Have a look at Miller. Geez, a tough-looking customer, isn't he? Long kick by Irvin and well read by Freeborn.
Another player who always keeps his footing, never loses his legs underneath him.
Taylor just caught at the back there with Miller. Close to the line. Now Ross sweeps it infield. What can they do here? Cowan still kept his eye on the footy. Good persistence. Good second effort then. Left footer. High one. Tough one to mark. Freeborn there. Now Patterson. Now Dolan. So can they mount some sort of charge and get a late goal or 2 here? They certainly need to. There's no doubt about it. Spear knocked it straight to Burns, and Burns is going to get a free kick for over the shoulder.
Port coming back, North only by 4 points. It was 30 points, then back to 11, now 4 points. Glenelg lead West by 7 points, nothing in that. Right down to the wire, and Central extending their lead over Sturt, now 48 points.
So all the action now with Scotty Burns directly in front, 35 metres out. The umpire just moves to his right slightly and then indicates a goal. Well, they needed that. Is it too late? I get the feeling it is. That's Burns first. It's 11-18 to 8-10. 29 scoring shots to 18.
Scott Burns, you know, is very good. Watch him, he just collapses from the knees here. Takes possession of the ball. That's the first thing you need to do. Then just forced himself into Pesh and collapsed at the same time. Very good experience for a 19-year-old. He earned a free kick the same way on the half-back flank only minutes ago.
11-18 to 8-10. And we're just a minute and a bit away from time on. Ross has gone into the ruck. 26 points the difference is the margin. As Patterson, who has worked very, very hard. All to no avail. Perhaps one of Norwood's best today. And we'll have a bounce down on centre wing. The umpires have done a good job. Neiman, way up over the top went Burns. Now Cowan drags it back towards the player in Patterson. Just a little bit scrappy. Cowan had fallen out of the game through the third term. This is Prime, gets it onto the left leg, and Rogers, silky smooth, sits back, takes a well-timed mark, plays on, just about loses the feet, then balances himself up well to Freeborn. Left leg, far side of the ground. Cameras are doing a good job out there, because I can tell you it's getting very dark here at Woodville Oval. Well done by Primus. Dan Tokia gives some ground to the run of Bassett. Middle of the ground, inside, full forward. Pitt set himself, did well to commit because there was a bevy of Eagles players there. 1-2, Spear works it out and the Eagles are out of trouble.
Yes, they are, to the far side of the ground. Here's Scotty Morfitt. He'd be appreciating the long sleeve Guernsey, no doubt about that. Kick up toward left half forward, Philippou. Jason Ziller has the runner. Oh, it's Scotty Morfitt again. Well done in the 1-2, Scott. Long kick up toward Shaki territory, knocked away down there by Ryan. Awkward bounce. Cowan read it best, then slips the hand pass to Miller, who goes toward Dan Tokia. Finally, it comes out with Hart, and Hart with a big kick up toward almost the mark taken down there by Irvin. Couldn't quite control it. Dolan. Now Patterson. And Patterson looking for an option. Nickel in the van down there, but it went past him. That was Pitt. He obviously was the option. Opportunity once again. This time it's Irvin. And Irvin, no, it wasn't Irvin. Who was it, David?
Hart.
Thank you. Stephen Ziller. Freeborn and Rogers again, and Pesh.
It's a very solid defence, isn't it? And here on the end of it once again is Andrew Payes, the man who's found something extra in this last term. Leadership qualities on show. In short, and finds Sam Philippou. It's a good piece of work. On his best day, Sam, and he's worked very hard.
First quarter was pretty good, Philippou, but he did drift out in the second quarter.
And his competition, as always, has been outstanding. In towards half forward, Taylor sets himself just like shelling peas, isn't it? As old Sandy Nelson would say to the late, great Jack Odie at Unley Oval, just like shelling them, and Taylor gets himself underneath of it.
Now let's see what Taylor does here. Big Chris Prime mark from here in the third quarter and chipped off. Found Dolan. Now 2 goals 3 today, Taylor, after his 4 goals 2 last week. 50 goals for the year. Pretty fair effort from 13 games.
No doubt about it. He'll make the distance. Beautiful kick, Andrew. Right through the middle. And so Taylor, in the dying stages of this round 16 game at Woodville Oval, gets his third. 1 in the first, 1 in the second, and now 1 in the last. And he's given the Eagles a commanding lead, 12-18 to 8-10.
Watch how he launches himself into this ball, though. This is the thing that Andrew Taylor does better than most. See how he comes up and across. He has an ability to jump out and forward, out and across. A lot of players like Central's Grant Coffey jump straight up at the ball, almost like a basketballer. But Taylor makes sure that he gives himself some angle and some width every time he jumps.
Let's have a look at some updates. Well. Port Adelaide lead North Adelaide by 8 points. After trailing considerably only 10 minutes ago, Glenelg. Nothing in that. Glenelg and West Adelaide.
Heading for a draw with seconds to go in that match. Philippou at centre half forward. He'll give you everything, this fellow. Tough as nails. 45, 55 metres out as he kicks. It's a long ball with the breeze. And this is where the Eagles do it. They just kick goal after goal. Once they break you, they just keep coming at you. Last week it was the second quarter against Port Adelaide where they kicked 10 goals, 6, and the game was over. And today it's the final term.
Well, what's that? 38 points, and that was a big kick, wasn't it? 65 metres and bang, straight through the middle. Sam Philippou, big goal, his second for the game. Let's have a look at the goal kickers now.
Taylor with 3, Ziller 2, Philippou 2. Up there, Payes those 2 great last quarter goals.
And Ross 2, Patterson, Prime, Hart and Primus 1 goal apiece.
Stephen Trigg goes down to the boundary line with 28.5 minutes in. The Eagles 96, Norwood 58 at the bounce. Neiman in ruck, he can do it all. The big man thumps it forward, down it falls to Patterson, around the corner. It's dawning on the Redlegs they've lost this game. 4 straight and a loss today to the reigning premiers. Burns inside to Dan Tokia, 48 out as he drills the goals. A long ball to Primus. The big hands are up. And the praying mantis has got the mark. Plates on quickly. Oh, it could come unstuck. It has. Freeborn gathers it in, and the Eagles' defence are ever alert.
Yes, he stopped and propped then, didn't he? He had second thoughts about that.
Hannum got a knee in the back as he smothered that kick. That was the desperation that he showed.
37 points this margin, 96 to 59. And a little unlucky there, Primus. He can do a lot of good things, not just ruck. He's kicked 5 goals over the last 2 weeks, including today's effort. So, and he can take some big marks, David, as well. He's, as you said earlier, terrific find by Norwood.
Well, they're well served. They've also got Andrew Pascoe back from Collingwood, playing in the reserves. It won't be long before he's up there. So they're starting to take some formidable strength in their big man department.
Yes, and I just wonder how far Rowe is off, because they could do with him come finals time. Still a fair way?
Yes, spoke with the club midweek. He's still a good 4 or 5 weeks away, if at all.
OK, here's Taylor. There's the siren. So it's a big win to the Eagles, and they continue on their big march toward a second premiership here in the local competition. The Eagles 13-18-96. They've defeated Norwood 8-11-59. And the margin 37 points. In the end, David Mackay, comprehensive victory.
Well, I think the fact that Norwood could only score 1 goal, 1 into the breeze in the final term, the Eagles were able to belt on 6 goals, 5, and that's the strength of the Eagles. They seem to be able to pull it together when it's most needed, and today it was the final quarter. They knew they had the breeze at their back. Norwood were very plucky early, particularly. There was only, 3 points in it at three-quarter time, and you might have thought that the Redlegs would have got some heart from that and been able to go on with it. But today, the Eagles on their home ground. In fact, I think they've only lost 1 game here, and that was to South Adelaide earlier in the year. They didn't lose 1 at all here last season, so they were very disappointed with that loss. And I think at three-quarter time, they just put the accelerator down. Zilla was terrific. Pays with those 2 great goals, inspirational goals. Taylor was good, and Philippo chipped in for 1 when they needed him. Their forward setup, I think, just gave them too much flexibility, and the Redlegs in the finish couldn't cover it.
There's Super Sid, who's now an Eagles supporter. How far off their best are they?
Oh, I think a fair way, frankly. I think when the Eagles are playing very well, they harass you, they knock you over you, they belt you, and I think today they were running the ball, they were harassing, but they weren't at their vigorous best, no.
Here's Stephen Trigg on the boundary line.
Yes, thank you, Mark. With me is Eagles captain Peter Schwartz, who finished the game on the bench. We'll ask you firstly about yourself. Are you well?
Yeah, I'm all right. Just Achilles is a bit tight at the moment.
And you'd be a bit cool, wouldn't you?
Very, very cool. It's a bit chilly.
It's just a little fresh.
There's a little bit in it.
But there was no doubting the Eagles' last quarter. They were pretty hot, weren't they?
Yeah, we always thought it'd be that sort of game where we'd probably go into the last quarter and it might take, 5 or 10 minutes of that to finally crack the opposition. So that's how we thought Norwood would play, and that's how it turned out.
And plenty of flexibility again. Just a little throw around in the last quarter. Again, Taylor came out to centre half forward, and Sam into full forward. Works okay, doesn't it?
That does, yeah. I mean, that's the beauty about that forward line down there. There's 4 or 5 blokes you can just swap around, and it was good having Lawrence Shackey too on the bench to be able to slot back in there as well.
Listen, take us inside the mindset of the Zilla brothers, will you? They must wax, I reckon. Do they have a deal going? Perhaps some sort of commission basis, because they give it to each other all the time.
I tell you what, I wouldn't want anybody to take one of the brothers on. The other one would be right behind them. No, they've played all their footy together, and they've just been tremendous.
And they do find plenty of the football the same way as a couple of new boys. One on centre wing was Camporelli, I thought, in one of his early games. Quite fantastic.
Yeah, tremendous. I mean, he had a lot of composure. Every time he got the ball, he's under a bit of pressure, and he took his time and composed himself and delivered the ball, which is important.
Peter, what about a couple of injuries? Tell us about Totham and indeed Negri. Someone getting a bit of a hoist up back here. Totham and Negri, how long are their injuries for?
Well, Stewie Totham's sort of, his knee was a little bit more serious than Romy's, I think. Romy might only be sort of 2 or 3. Stewie at this stage might be, it could be anything between 4 to 8 or something like that.
And do you have the bye now?
Yeah, we're looking forward to that week.
How will you spend it?
I think we'll sort of rest up, I think. And looking forward to it.
I thought competitive training was the order of the day, because Bruce Winter's been saying that when you train competitively, it all works well.
That's right. With the 3 games we've lost this year is when we've dropped off the competitive training during the week, and again this week we're at it, and against Port the week before, so it seems to pay the dividends.
Peter, thanks for talking with us. Top of the table, and congratulations. Good luck in your next outing in a fortnight.
Thanks, Steve.
Pete Schwartz, and he leads by example, David, doesn't he?
Terrific leader. I think the thing about this club is that they've got leaders on every line. Andrew Taylor in the forward line leads the forward line. You've got Rogers on a halfback line that leads guys like Freeborn, Devine. He really just marshals them. And then in the back pocket, you've got Peter Schwartz, who's a terrific club captain.
Negri and Totham, interestingly, there to come back. So you ran finals time, they could be very strong.
Well, Romano Negri last week was best on ground against Port Adelaide. A lot of people charged that he couldn't do it in the wet. Well, he did everything.
It's been a big year for him because he was on the edge last year, wasn't he?
Well, if you recollect, the Crows played him in 1 game, and that was it. They discarded him after that, and I know that was a turning point for him, a watershed. He spent 6 or 7 weeks in the reserves after that, and I think that was the turning point in his whole career. He wanted to get back to be a senior ruckman, and he did. And I think he's showing a few clubs particularly that they should have picked him up in the AFL draft. He's been a terrific player this year for the Eagles.
What do Norwood need to do, David, to improve? Let's just check those quarter by quarters before we discuss that. 3-3 to 3-3. It was dead square at quarter time. 7-8 to 5-5. The Eagles led at half time, and nothing much in it at three-quarter time, but a big last quarter. Very disappointing as far as Norwood is concerned.
Well, 3 points in it at three-quarter time. You would have suggested that the Redlegs might have had the heart to go on with it. They've got the runners, and you asked me what they need to do to go on from here. Well, they've done a pretty fair job. Look at Ross with 2, Patterson 1, Prime 1, Hart 1 and Primus 1. We pinpointed Taylor 3, Zilla 2, Philippou 2 and Pays 2. We pinpointed that Norwood struggled up forward, that they didn't have the firepower. Guys like Prime were marking 55 metres out and not going back and having a shot. And that's unheard of in most circles. A big full forward with a powerful leg, passing off. Now, we think that's an instruction.
It's been happening a lot all year.
Well, I think you've got to look at what they've got. Fleming and Primus can play down there.
Pitt.
But they've got players that, Pitt particularly today, I thought Andrew Rogers did a terrific job shutting him out of the game. Pitt is a quality player, and Rogers shut him right down. Pitt needs to kick a lot more goals as well.
Let's have a look at the AFL scores today. Carlton, defeated Brisbane. Gee, that's disappointing, isn't it? If you're a Brisbane supporter, it is.
It's a surprise because Brisbane really have improved this year. They've recruited beautifully and their form in the last month has been terrific. Essendon over North Melbourne, that puts them back on the winning track. Hawthorn, big winners over Geelong. That's not expected, I would have thought.
And Neil Barm back in winning form there. Melbourne defeating Fitzroy. Barmy would be pleased with that.
Well, they lost 6 in a row.
A couple of months, haven't they?
6 in a row they've lost Melbourne, and Fitzroy are in the horrors again. And it's the old chestnut of them being forced to amalgamate with somebody else or merge is out again.
OK, and the youngsters are playing in Perth. This is the Commonwealth Bank Championship. The under-17s, Victorian Metro. Well, they gave us a bit of a walloping, David, didn't they? 3 goals. At least we kicked straight.
Well, they did this last year. We still got through to the final, and they did the damage to us last year, and they've opened up again this year.
OK, so we've seen the Eagles go on their merry way. We've seen Norwood win 4 in a row and capitulate in the last quarter. What about Central District? I mean, they look the 3 at this stage, but gee whiz, it's a terrific competition, isn't it?
You can't discount Port Adelaide. Around finals time, they grow a leg. And Glenelg today, I don't know how that they finished with West Adelaide, but if their runners can get going on a dry ground, they can cut you to shreds. So there's probably realistically 4 or 5 sides that can challenge the Eagles for a grand final spot.
Well, the Double Blues are the only side, in my opinion, that can't make the final 5. I made the point during the quarter-time break that there are all, in fact, Sturt, North, and also West Adelaide have all been giant killers throughout the year. They've all won big games, so it's been a very even competition.
Well, I think that's testimony to the fact that we don't need this Norwood and Sturt merger. I've got to say to you, I think the competition can go as it is. I don't believe that we particularly need it. I think the bye's quite good for sides to freshen up injured players. Everybody's saying we need 8 sides, and I'm asking the question why. We've survived with 10 for a good number of years, 30-odd years. 3 years ago, the Eagles merged with Woodville, and that's worked. But it doesn't mean that we need to go any further, in my view. It's
been a big week for footy, hasn't it? Well, there's a lot of officials scurrying and concerned, and there's a lot of jealousy. In a lot of ways, it's been a terrible week.
Whoever has leaked that report to the newspapers and the TV stations, the SANFL, it was a discussion paper.
Yeah, but it
Somebody's
happens, David,
leaked that.
it?
It's a disgrace.
But
they want to find that bloke,
yeah,
tar and feather him, horsewhip him, and throw him out of town.
It'll be nasty for him, whoever
I'd like Neville Roberts to get into that on the football show, because that is a very big topic to get under. OK, let's have a look at another result in the local competition. Central District defeated Sturt by 67 points. Gee, they're looking powerful, aren't they, Central? I think they're the side that can beat the Eagles in the finals. The Eagles struggle with sides that run very hard and very fast. Norwood are capable of that, but Central really have got some very good runners, and they control the ball out of the centre beautifully, and that could trouble them. Who's your top 5 at this stage? I think you'd go with the Eagles, Central. I'd have a look at probably Glenelg, and I like Port. Port defeated North by 30 points. Now they must have gone missing 18 points down. 15 minutes to go, and they've won by 30. So that's the power of Port Adelaide. Put them in your 5, and I think you can probably put Glenelg and Norwood in as well. West Adelaide? No, I don't think so. I think West Adelaide, they just seem to be running out of confidence in themselves, and I think they'll struggle in that regard. I think they'll probably finish something like 7th or 8th. South Adelaide, dark horse. What about the McGarry medal, Rogers? I think clearly, Brenton Phillips is not in bad form either, so he's a chance. There's a lot of footy left, though. OK, let's have a look at this. West Adelaide defeated Glenelg by 25 points, so a big effort there by West Adelaide. I might review West Adelaide. Comment, David. West Adelaide might make the 5. OK, thank you very much, David. Now let's cross to Sydney for all of the action in the basketball. Sydney and Brisbane. Bye, everyone.
Back in towards